Okay. All right, good evening and welcome to the City of Sunbury Council meeting. It is November 1st, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John.
Here.
Mr. Capel.
Here.
Mr. Ghost.
Here.
Mr. Neff.
Here.
Mr. Grumney.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Present.
Mrs. Cooper. Here. 7 present. We have quorum.
All right, great. We're going to open up a public hearing. This is regarding a zoning code amendment where the city is pursuing creating a limited industrial zoning district. I'd like to hand it over to the administration to give a brief introduction. We'll hand it also to our law director to enter in any specific exhibits. And then we will go to Ms. Elisa Duffy Rogers, who is zoomed in here. This session is also being recorded by our stenographer, Maria, and we're going to go ahead and kick that off right now. Mr. Hennessy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that.
Let me just say this is a public hearing, so anybody that testifies will have to be sworn. So if you're here tonight about this, doesn't obligate you to testify, but we're going to swear everybody in as a group. That keeps us from having to do it one at a time every time someone comes up to the podium. So if you're here and you think you might testify, you don't have to, but you think you might testify, if you could stand and raise your right hand and be sworn by the court reporter.
Ms. Duffy Rogers as well. Thank you.
Yes.
You swear that the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so I feel like it's perjury.
I do.
And with that, we'd also like to start the hearing tonight by opening with and marking a couple of exhibits. Exhibit A is the proposed limited industrial district text. Exhibit B is the public hearing notice. And I'm going to mark as Exhibit C the presentation that Ms. Duffy Rogers will be testifying to. Any other exhibits that need marked at this time?
No. Okay. Great.
I also mention one other thing for the public. So there are some other issues on the agenda, and I want to make sure there's delineation between the two. What we're talking about in this public hearing is creating a new zoning district in the city. This does not apply currently to any particular property. Later on the agenda, there is discussion around annexations. The two at this point in the process are separate. And what we're talking about with this particular zoning code creation does not tie to any particular property. So I did want to be clear with that. Mr. Hennessy.
Yeah, so just thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Dave, for the exhibits. So as the mayor indicated, this is a proposal to amend the city's existing zoning code. We've been working for, I would say, probably 6 months now. A working group that includes Elisa Duffy Rogers. She is a representative from CT Consultants, along with city staff, legal staff, and others to help formulate a proposal. This amendment has gone to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They have recommended approval. So what you're going to hear this evening from Elisa is going to do the overview. What you're going to hear is what was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is the first step, as the mayor indicated, in the process. So we're just, I think at this point, just anticipating an introduction to the zoning code amendment this evening, the public hearing portion of that, and then we'll be back in front of council, I think, for consideration and action at subsequent meetings. So with that, I've asked Elisa if she could do something similar to what she had done with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and that is to do just a high-level overview of the proposed changes to the zoning code. All of those documents, including her presentation, are in your packet. But again, she'll take maybe 10-15 minutes to do the overview, and we'll go from there. So with that, Elisa, we'll pull the presentation up.
All right, I will.
I'm sorry. You were going to pull the presentation up, right?
Yes, sir. I'll share my screen.
That's right. So she could control the screen. Yeah, that's right.
Are y'all seeing my screen okay?
Not yet.
Not yet.
about yet?
Not yet.
There we go.
Looks like it's starting to load. You're loaded.
There you go. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Good evening. I am Elisa Duffy Rogers with CT Consultants. I have a presentation, as Daryl said, that gives an overview and the highlights of the new industrial district. I will start by reviewing the major components of each subsection of the limited industrial district and explaining some of the features of the limited industrial district, including the amendments that are necessary to effectuate the district, which are amendments in addition to the new district that are necessary in order to make the district work within your existing zoning ordinance. And then finally, I will entertain any questions or comments at the end. Let's start with an overview of the limited industrial district. It is a conventional district, not a planned district. Conventional zoning districts are districts where the land use is controlled through the regulation of the height and bulk of the buildings and structures, including things like minimum area and dimensions of lots, the percentage of lot coverage, and through the use of setback regulations and the type and intensity of land uses permitted. The purpose of the conventional zoning district is to control land use and dimensional standards in a uniform way throughout each parcel within the zoning district. With a similar use, as I said, similar use and dimensional regulations applying to all parcels within the district. Let's contrast that with a planned district that has unique standards and uses that are specifically designed for the site being rezoned into the planned district. The limited industrial district will be a floating district, and what that means is that it will float within the zoning ordinance, but it will not appear on the zoning map until a landowner requests the rezoning and the rezoning is approved by the city council. If the rezoning is reviewed and approved by the city council, a zoning certificate and site plan approval will be required. And just finally, the sites must be 200 acres to be considered for rezoning into the limited industrial district. Are you getting closed captioning on your screen?
Yes.
We are, but it might be helpful to others. So keep going.
Okay. The purpose of this new district is to permit a limited range of limited industrial and other employment generation uses into the industrial park with a more rural character. Before we look at the use table, let's talk about the types of uses. Your existing ordinance utilizes permitted uses and conditional uses. With the limited industrial district, we are adding an additional use type called a restricted use. A restricted use is a permitted use with additional objective requirements. If the use complies with these additional objective standards, which are called use-specific standards within the new ordinance, then it is treated as a permitted use, meaning that there is no discretionary review. If the use can't comply with the use-specific standards, then it is deemed a conditional use and must be considered through the conditional use process. Let's take a few minutes and look at the portions of the table in the limited industrial district. On the screen, you will see the office and retail uses. General office uses are permitted by right, whereas the retail and personal service establishments are restricted uses. Because of the purpose of the limited industrial district, the intensity of the retail and personal services is limited by the use-specific standards. And again, those use-specific standards are additional standards that we are creating as a part of this district. Most of the uses permitted in the limited industrial district are industrial uses. Most are permitted by right, with the more intense uses being conditional uses such as a concrete batch plant or an industrial manufacturing use, which is defined as a heavier manufacturing use. All of these uses are defined in the amendments to the definitions. In terms of the development standards, the setbacks are differentiated by principal and accessory buildings, as well as pavement. You will notice that we have proposed increased setbacks adjacent to major streets such as principal and minor arterials. These large setbacks help to create a character along these major streets that is dominated by landscaping and features abutting the right-of-way, not large buildings close to the street. For buildings, the minimum setbacks from principal and minor arterials is 250 feet. The minimum setback from major and minor collectors is 100 feet, and the setback from the perimeter of the district is 25 feet. The setback from abutting limited industrial lots is 25 feet. And to protect the residential and agricultural uses, the minimum setback for buildings from districts permitting agricultural and residential uses or lots that are occupied by such uses is 100 feet. In terms of the pavement setback, the minimum from a major street right-of-way is 250 feet. And this requirement prevents parking in front of the building along these major arterials. I would like to suggest tonight 2 revisions to the development standards table, and this is a new slide that was not included in your deck. These changes are shown in red on the table that you see on the screen. The first change just makes the language in lines 4A and 5A parallel, so that they both reference major arterial streets as classified by ODOT. The second change adds clarity to the table by including local roads and private streets like you see in 5B. So again, that the language is parallel in both parts of the table. Because of enhanced building, landscape, and site design and performance standards are important in this district, we have included detailed design, landscaping, and site standards. These standards will be supplemented with the Sunbury Limited Industrial Administrative Policy. This policy is incorporated by reference in the new district and will include the things like the desirable tree species, planting details, and specifics for the required fencing adjacent to the right-of-way. As I said, there are detailed building design standards. Some of the highlights include requiring new buildings and new facades to have a consistent architectural theme in terms of style, materials, texture, and color. All elevation of the buildings that are visible from a street have to have a similar treatment in terms of style, materials, and design. All building elevations on an individual building have to be compatible with each other. 50% of the front facade must have and utilize primary building materials, which include things like brick, stone, masonry, composite wood siding, and architectural concrete masonry units. The front entrance must be architecturally prominent, and principal structures must have at least 2 different facade materials, not including the windows. The front elevation must have 25% transparency or windows at the first floor level, measured from grade up to 10 feet above grade for all office and interest areas. And then all other elevations that face a public street must have 20% transparency as well. Metal siding, which is not part of an architectural metal panel, is prohibited on any facade that is visible from a right-of-way or residential zoning district or residential use. Prefabricated metal buildings and untreated masonry block structures are prohibited, as is reflective and mirrored glass. Overhead service doors cannot face public streets, and facades of the principal structure visible from a public street must have a variety of architectural treatments, which include things like vertical and horizontal features that break up the facade walls, including building projections and recesses and pilasters, contrasting bands, awnings, canopies, any number of things to break up that facade and not have it appear as monolithic. The front facade and facades visible from the public right-of-way can't have an uninterrupted length of blank wall that is longer than 60 feet. As I will discuss in a few minutes, the existing sign regulations will apply to the limited industrial district. However, due to the nature of this district, we are prohibiting roof signs and billboards. Your current sign regulations prohibit wall signs that are mounted above 25 feet on the wall. Due to the height of the buildings in the limited industrial district, The height of wall signs is not prescribed, but signs must not extend above the roof or the parapet. The city's existing tree preservation requirements are incorporated into this district. In addition, increased setback requirements adjacent to residential, a minimum 5-foot high mound is required with evergreen trees and bushes, as well as deciduous trees that must be planted on top of the mound. And after 5 years, the screening must be at a minimum height of 10 feet. For parking lots, every 10 parking space has to be separated with 1 tree island, and the trees have to be 3 inches in caliper when planted. Parking lots are allowed in front of buildings on interior streets, but screening is required, which may include berms, walls, and ornamental fences. Hedgerow plantings, which are planted in a 12-foot wide strip, 5 or 6 feet on center, are required between parcels of different ownership. And front yards must be landscaped with at least 1 tree for every lineal feet of frontage. To help define the character of the limited industrial district, street trees, a multi-use trail, and fencing is required. These features will be significant shaping elements of the district when viewed from the street. And the specific designs for the fence in the Sunbury Limited Industrial will be included in the Sunbury Limited Industrial Administrative Policy. And as I said, the specifics for the fence have not been determined. And once they are, they will be included into this policy, which, as I said, is included by reference in the district. Minimum parking requirements are included in the district. In general, less parking is required than in your existing ordinance requirements. In addition, the Planning Commission may further reduce the required parking when the applicant provides a parking assessment or parking data from comparable sites. At the time of the rezoning, applicants must provide a preliminary stormwater management plan in order to coordinate stormwater facilities across the district. And stormwater facilities can't be visible on the street unless they are developed as a site amenity. And to be a site amenity, it has to have things, meet certain prescribed standards, which include pedestrian access and amenities. In the district, we reference the city's existing nuisance requirements and include additional standards. For lighting, we established a maximum pole height of 30 feet, except that the pole heights located within 300 feet of residential properties can only be 18 feet in height. For outdoor storage, no screening is required if the storage area is not visible from the street or at the ground level of a distance of 200 feet from any perimeter property line that is not under common ownership. If the screening is required, the screening must be 8 feet in height, and outdoor storage areas must comply with the applicable pavement setback. Because all of the uses in the limited industrial district may utilize hazardous materials, the applicant must submit a statement describing the nature of these hazardous materials and the safety precautions associated with them at the time that they apply for a zoning certificate. We are also requiring that the city is notified whenever the hazardous material practices are changed. And we're also requiring that the city be notified if any industry receives a violation for hazardous materials handling. And also, all utilities must be underground. To supplement the city's nuisance standards, we include standards for heat, noise, vibration, smoke, odors, and all the things that you see on the screen. We also included standards for on-site generators, which many industrial facilities use in case of power interruptions. We are requiring that generators be set back 100 feet from agricultural and residential uses and districts. We are also requiring a noise study. The generators have to be tested periodically, and the time for tested is limited to 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays only. We are also requiring that the location of generators be shown on the site plan when it is submitted for a zoning certificate. We included a subsection covering violations and penalties. We list what constitutes a violation, expressly permit the zoning inspector to inspect sites if there's a suspected violation, allow the zoning inspector to also issue stop work orders and notices of violation, and prescribe a penalty for violations of the provisions in the limited industrial district. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, this is a conventional district. So once the property is zoned into the limited industrial district, The next level of review is a zoning certificate process, which includes the approval of a site plan. During the Planning and Zoning Commission's review of the site plan, the commission may entertain waivers and deviations from the standards in the limited industrial district if it is requested by the applicant. In addition to the limited industrial district itself, other sections of your existing zoning ordinance must be amended in order to effectuate the limited industrial district. The first one would be the establishment and purposes of the district section. This section actually establishes and creates all of your zoning districts, so it must be amended to incorporate the new limited industrial district. In terms of definitions, all the uses in the use tables must be defined, so your existing definitions section is also being amended with these new uses. As I said, to incorporate the new district into your existing sign standards, we are amending one section of your sign regulations to include the limited industrial district because your sign standards are based on zoning districts. And we are also creating a brand new section for the use-specific standards. The section governing the approval of zoning certificates is also be amending to give the council the ability to approve zoning certificates by resolution instead of by ordinance, which is the case today. We revised the existing zoning section that restricts waste accumulation to expressly include all non-residential structures, not just commercial ones, which is what the language currently states. And all the uses that you see on the screen have use-specific standards in the newly created section. And again, that's for those uses that are either classified as restricted or conditional within the use tables. So finally, at this point, I will stop sharing my screen and take any questions or comments.
Thank you, Ms. Duffy Rogers. Any comments or questions from council, from Ms. Duffy Rogers or for staff?
I just have one point of clarification on the testing hours. You said that was from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. weekdays only. So does that mean no weekends testing then are allowed, or does that mean the hours are only subject to weekdays?
Means that they are not allowed to test on the weekends at all. And then the times are tested from 9 to 7 during the week.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the council? Wanted to read something that I had discussed with the school board about 2 months ago, and it similar but related, but I think a lot of the points are the same. I want to emphasize one point. We talked about the purpose generally, but the purpose for city council is a couple of things. One, this limited industrial district prohibits housing. And this is really a foot in the sand moment for the city in terms of pivoting our growth strategy. So Sunbury is in the process of creating a limited industrial district, enabling business growth and scientific research, scientific development, and training facilities, technology-related facilities, industrial flex uses, and light intensity production of goods and manufacturing. All development within the zoning district will incorporate enhanced building, landscape, site design, and performance standards, which will ensure that the development is compatible with the surrounding area. With the creation of the limited industrial district, it is the intention and desire of the city of Sunbury to provide for a range of limited industrial development while protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the users of the limited industrial district and residents alike. If we want to look at how our growth pattern could be without taking action tonight, we can simply look to the past to predict the future makeup of development. For every 10 developers that I meet with, the vast majority are interested in building housing. And I assume this comes as no surprise, given the fact we live in the fastest growing region in the Midwest, inside the fastest growing county in the state, inside the fastest growing city in the state. And according to an August 10th Columbus Business First article, the Sunbury zip code, which makes up about half of the geographical bounds of the Big Walnut School District, is the hottest housing market in central Ohio in terms of percent price increase since 2018. Metaphorically, in terms of development pressure, we are a bullseye on the map. I'd go so far as to say it's imperative that we amend our growth strategy, and creating this limited industrial district allows us to do so. We looked at our entire gamut of zoning codes that we have today. And there are real users that want to come and develop in Sunbury today. And it was like a round peg in a square hole, or how the expression goes. There were going to be so many variances and divergences requested. It would lengthen the process. It would be cumbersome, and it would become extremely subjective. By being proactive in creating this zoning district, we are saying what Sunbury wants, how we are going to grow. And this is a firm strategy or a pivot point for our community. And I'm very excited to take the next step in this process. With that said, are there any other comments from City Council or questions? All right, we're going to open it up to the public. Is there anybody who was sworn in that would like to speak with City Council regarding the creation of the limited industrial district zoning code? Did you get sworn in, Mr. Bennett?
I did.
All right, come on up to the podium, please. You can state your name, and we'll give you about 3 minutes, please.
Barry Bennett, 5401 Plantation Road. I don't have my glasses, so bear with me. A couple things. I understand why this is happening, and I understand that it's going to happen. There are a couple things I didn't see in here that I'd like council to consider before the code's finalized, because it's a perfect opportunity to do it. The first one involves storm runoff. I own a piece of property along Jackson Road that is a creek bottom, Big Walnut Creek, which over the few years I've owned it, I've seen the stormwater rise and rise and rise to the point where 100-year-old trees are about to be washed away. This might be an opportunity to increase the requirements for retention basins. And I know it's not just Sunbury, it probably goes 100 miles north from here. But every 100 acres that gets paved adds to that problem. I know council's aware of that in other areas of the city as well. So this might be a good time to put something into the code that deals with that a little bit better. Bigger retention basins, possibility of semi-permeable pavement where some water can sink into the ground. There were some displays at the Ohio State Fair where they put in, I don't know what the technical term is, but tree plantings and plantings that have underground structure to hold water, and it's used as a natural, basically a natural way to get rid of water. I know it's expensive, but possibly something we could look at. Number two is light pollution. I know we already have some of that in our codes. I will tell you from my vantage point of several miles north that it doesn't work very well. Turning night into day tends to turn night into day, even if you try to direct all that light at the ground. So maybe something could be put in where that lighting is less than it is now, or more stringent codes on focusing that towards the ground instead of letting light escape into the sky, if possible. Noise pollution, I think, was addressed. I'd like to see maybe a higher amount than 5 feet if there's going to be a noisy environment. 5 doesn't seem to really do much. I know it's expensive. Everything's expensive. Oh yeah, these things all are particularly acute if this new industrial area happens to be adjacent to existing homes. I know it probably is going to have an impact for miles around, but it's going to be particularly acute for anybody who happens to live there now. All of a sudden their quiet neighborhood is bright lights at night and factories are roaring all night. So is there anything in the code that would prevent somebody from, I know you want diversity, you want different companies in here, but what's to stop some developer from gobbling up 400 acres and turning it into 400 acres of warehouse? Is there anything in there that limits that from happening?
Are we doing on time?
And I think I'm done.
All right, good deal. Mr. Bennett, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Would anybody else from the public like to speak? All right. Anything else from council? That. All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas, public hearing is closed.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marie. All right, we are on to the approval of the minutes from the October 18th meeting. Motion to approve. Got a motion by Mr. Martin,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Capel. Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Yeah, we're on to the visitors section. Would anybody like to speak with, excuse me, council? All right. Good deal. We're on the committee reports. Mr. Ghost.
Well, yes, earlier this evening, we had our monthly parks meeting. We talked about J.R. Smith and Reservoir Park projects. So J.R. Smith, we're pretty close to getting an application in for the Community Investment Fund grant opportunity through the state. The committee was unanimous in approving basically the cost sheet. I don't know if you have part of your packet or not, but we have, I'll pass this around. Maximum potential cost around $2 million. And that's going to include the splash pad, about 2,000 square feet, pavilion, a nice pavilion with restrooms, whole new parking lot, perimeter path that'll have a stub connection to the Ohio Erie Trail there. So that's phase one, and we're going to ask for a maximum of 1.5 million with 500,000 city share, and that does not include any other grant funding that we can pursue into next year, as well as donation efforts that we plan to do as well, donation outreach. So that's our plan. I think the timing of this was April. Actually, we have to submit this in a couple of weeks to the state representatives, Ms. Lear and Mr. Brenner. And they should announce the award sometime, I think, April or May 2024. So we'll know where we stand with regard to funding there. I think that captures it all for the most part. Do you have anything else to add, Mr. Hennessy, to that?
No, we had just talked in the committee meeting. We've done a draft correspondence, I guess, of kind of summarizing the project and what could be sent to the legislators. I'll send that out to the rest of the council members so you can see it and give me any thoughts you have on it.
Very good. I'm going to pass this down for everyone. Oh, did you? Okay.
It's coming back.
Okay. And secondarily, the Reservoir Park phase one, we do need to break ground, I believe, according to CT and Mr. Whited before the end of the year. We'll pass this down to you as well.
We need to break ground or be in contract.
Mobilized.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between in contract and broken ground.
Yeah. And that this phase includes you had your parking lot, gravel area, 17 spaces, there'll be concrete spaces for the handicapped. And then we'll have an asphalt path coming off of that all the way over to our accessible floating fishing dock, which is going to be a little bit further lengthened because of the slope that's needed. And we have a dog waste station there. We have some nice robust landscape for beautification purposes and a couple of new benches out there on the trail. So that's phase one. I think we have another resolution tonight that you'll see to get that cost approved. And I think overall we were looking at about $275,000 Mr. White?
It's closer to 300,000, but yeah, that's about right. I don't remember the exact number.
I think half of that we already have earmarked in the parks budget, ready to go. And I think streets, Damon, I think streets might have the other half of that.
We're budgeting for the other half in the 2024 budget for the reservoir, for the streets portion.
Okay. But that's it for parks.
Mr. Grumman? I was just gonna say one point of clarification on that diagram you're seeing going around. There's the observation, what does that say? It's the observation deck, which is not part of this phase, so.
Right.
It's listed on there, but it wouldn't be part of this, go around, so it just made its way onto the picture. We almost lost Dave. But that's it, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Capel?
We had our services meeting earlier this evening and a couple big ticket items on there. Chief among them, the 2024 street program, because that's the best time to start a new one is right as we finish up the 2023 street program. So we're always talking about it. We're going to go review that, I think, in a little more detail later tonight because we do have legislation on our agenda tonight to move forward to OPWC grant funding request with that. Another big item we had was Sunbury Parkway Bridge signage. So we discussed some of the design options that we'd have for City of Sunbury or Sunbury designs over top of the bridge for the new Sunbury Parkway. I was super excited to do something that wasn't related directly to street or sewer or trees during that meeting, but some really cool art has come out of that I'm sure we'll be able to share here. I have copies I'll pass out to council here or show you guys later on. Some other more minor updates, demos starting this week on the municipal building and police station. And then the services committee will be focusing very heavily in our next meeting on sewer improvements, wastewater treatment plant and Little Walnut Creek sewers for future planning purposes. So right back into the sewer again. That's all I've got.
All right, great update. Thank you, Mrs. Cooper.
Yes, we had a zoning meeting on the 23rd. There was a commission review of Rolling Hills Phase 2 and 3B that was passed. We had an informal presentation from Metro Development discussing, they were talking about a parcel of land that is west of the Vineyard Church, so that's not in Sunbury. And their presentation included apartments and patio homes together. The commission had many concerns, one of which is that it's not in the city of Sunbury right now. Excuse me. It's also, we're not aware of any zoning that Sunbury currently has that you can have apartments and single family homes together. It's not currently zoned for that. The density was a problem. The apartments were, they presented were 3 levels. That was a problem for the commission. Lots of things for them, Metro Development, to take back. And there was also an informal presentation from Huntington Bank, which is, they were discussing potentially putting in a bank over sort of next to the Dairy Queen. And it was just also an informal presentation. There was just a question about the orientation of the building. That's all.
All right, thank you. Mr. Martin?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Mr. Neff?
Nothing to report.
All right, good deal. We are on to the police report.
Mr. Mayor, one other quick item I forgot to mention in parks. Amber had mentioned that we have 4 really nice looking premium grade bike racks.
Oh, great.
It should be installed maybe next week.
Hopefully they come in tomorrow, so.
And it will have our Coppola logo on them. And one will go out the gazebo area over there, which is a pretty well used area by some of the bikers that come through. And the other 3 somewhere around, spread around equally the square area.
Great. Thank you.
So, and that was a grant from, I think, the Delaware County Health District.
Thank you very much. All right, we are on the police report. Chief Howard?
Thank you, Mayor.
Item number one that we have on here is, we finally made the move to the round top for the temporary PD. We've got moved in there, having some IT issues that we're working. I don't know. Did you talk to Sid today?
I did not.
Okay, Sid from H&H, who's taking care of fiber for us, he come and met with us today. He's projected or hoping to have fiber installed down there within the next 2 weeks. And I think that'll fix our issues that we're having. We looked into, for the new PD, I was asked to look into some ballistic film for the windows. I spoke to James Hall, the director of facilities for Big Walnut Schools. He stated they were installing the film on the windows and doors at the school. The contractor reached out back to me. The film is about $188 a square foot to put on existing windows. Mike from the contractors meeting that we had, he said that the ballistic windows were already ordered and he didn't know what that would look like as far as a refund on those. I haven't heard anything back from him. I don't know if you have or not, Darryl. Updating on the Silverado, we've had several items on back order for that. I think they're all in but one. We're still waiting on a camera system, but we're going to pull the one out of the SRO car because it's not on the road, and let's see if we can save about $5,000 there, just switching that from the SRO car to the truck. We demoed a LiDAR unit. It's basically a laser like the highway patrol uses for speed, distances. You can do measurements of crashes. So the mayor looked at it, and the guys really thought that was a better option than some of the radar. You didn't have to be sitting somewhere on a drive facing traffic. You could be off the side of the road and get different angles, and it seemed to work better. Firearms training in our continued professional training. We've been in firearms all this week, getting everybody recertified. So they're all done with that. Finishing that, what did I say? Well, there's 2 that have to go tomorrow. We're probably 40 to 50% through our CPT training. I won't go through all these, but there's about 13 community engagements that we did this month. Those were fun. We had trick or treat, no incidents. Everybody had a great time, and that all went well. Calls for service, they're in your packet. I don't need me to go through all those, or I can just take questions if you have any at this point.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
Anything unusual on your calls last month? Out of the ordinary?
Not really. I brought a comparison with me tonight that I can give you guys to pass around, and it shows you the stats and the trend for the last since January to date. I got that printed out this morning, and I did not get that scanned, but I brought it with me if you guys would like to look at that.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Any other comments or questions for the chief? Thanks for a great month of engagement. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, we're on to the administrator's report. Mr. Hennessy.
There's just a couple of quick items. Included in your packet is the zoning report that went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I've included the page regarding the zoning certificates issued for new construction. It has slowed a little bit, but we anticipate we still will have more this year than we had last year, which again was a record year. So just got that in your packet. A couple of things on the service and the wastewater side. We have received, I would say, a significant number of requests regarding streetlights. So, and with the, with the sunsetting earlier, I think we are on top of the streetlight issue. We do have one at the communities of Sunbury we continue to work with. That's been a persistent challenge for us, but I think we have a path forward on that. If you know of other lights or you're hearing that from residents, please let us know. On wastewater, just wanted to note, we did receive some concerns from residents on North Columbus Street. regarding maybe the flow of the line that's coming down North Columbus to Cherry. So we started to investigate that a little bit to determine what might be happening there. So probably more to come on that soon. And then the final thing, I didn't include it in my report, probably should have. Hopefully you saw the video put together by staff and Joey Thomas's assistance. We did have fun with Halloween safety tips. So thank you to the police department for providing the content and for the staff for acting out the part. I did also want to note that we have another video ready to go on the street program that I think we anticipate we will release at the end of the week, basically recapping what we did in 2023, just give people a sense of an appreciation for their patience while we work through the street program. So just part of an effort to provide some level of education to the public on the way the city is spending its money.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great job on the video, Amber and team. That was amazing. I loved it. Great job. All right, we are on to the engineer's report. Mr. Whited.
Thank you, Mayor. I will try to be less verbose than normal tonight, particularly because most of my stuff has been talked about. The park projects we've discussed, Mr. Ghost went over those quite well. The Walnut Street mitigation project, we're still working on that to want to go out and do the geotech, but we need to clear some trees and move some utilities in order to get that big old drill rig back in there. And we'll have to do the same thing for the construction equipment. So I'm trying to have discussions with the county engineer's office to see if they can assist us with that. And I'll keep you up to date on that. Wastewater treatment expansion has been talked about by Mr. Hennessy, and that is fun stuff. Little Walnut Creek Interceptor, we will talk about that in the next services committee meeting. We're looking at some alternatives. We'd like to get those moved forward and start doing some actual design on that. So that'll be coming soon. The traffic calming on Sunbury Meadows Drive, we've put together a very schematic plan, but we did that to include it as part of the 2024 proposed street improvement plan program. So that plan will be a part of that, presuming success in getting the funding. As far as all these traffic things, the one thing that's I think important, and I believe Mr. Capel or one of you had mentioned, was the bridge aesthetics. And that's something we're working on. We'll get that to ODOT to move forward with. Our GIS mapping, we've put together a short strategy concept report to begin talking about how to best utilize the GIS to its best advantage for maintaining infrastructure zoning and other different things that it can be quite useful for. The 2023 street improvement program I will talk about later, since we'll have that on the agenda for potential approval. The zoning code, Ms. Duffy Rogers has talked about that. As far as development goes, those are all pretty much as they were last time. I am very close to approving the apartment project on Granville Street. There are one or two little items I need to work out with the developer and engineer, but that's pretty close to going, and I would imagine that would be starting. Underground components will be starting yet this year or early in 2024. The bank project, as Ms. Cooper had mentioned, is moving forward. I did get some final engineering or some engineering plans for those, and I'm in the process of reviewing those, giving them to the engineer. As far as permits, we've a little bit low. We've only had 5 right-of-way permit submittals this last period of time. However, we did have one very large proposed right-of-way permit, which is really in a whole different category. That is College Communications. Pavlov Fiber is proposing full community fiber deployment. And obviously that has a large impact on our right-of-ways. And it's not something we can just go through as easily as we can these other permits. So I put together some guidelines on the process, the construction, bonding it, all that sort of thing. And they want to start right away, but we'll have to go through those details first. They install about 7,000 to 10,000 feet per day, per week. When the weather's good, they don't work when the weather's below 29 degrees. It creates problems with freezing in their handholds and manholes. The total in the community is about 185,000 feet. It's a lot of fiber. And the process, depending on weather and other conditions, takes about 3 to 6 months. I would guess we probably get that rolling in the next 3 to 6 months to get started.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we did meet with them. There's still a lot of work to be done before I think we're gonna be ready to release that. But, we've had a couple of service providers approach us about providing additional fiber to the home. This is the first one to move forward to this stage, so.
Correct. And I'd be happy to provide you all with a guideline so you can take a look at those. Don't want them to be just me putting them together. I'll send them to all of you, including our city attorney, to make sure they're appropriate and take care of what you all want to take care of. So that's my report.
All right, thank you, Miss. Any questions for Mr. Whited?
Eagle Creek, the underground infrastructure, is that underway?
It is underway. They've actually begun some of their grading as well. And they're moving quite a bit of dirt out there. They're actually they have a lot of dirt they needed to remove from a certain portion of the site, and they didn't, to their credit, they didn't want to stockpile it on site and make a huge mound of this dirt. Is about 35,000 cubic yards. And they asked me if they could put that into the next phase where they will need to build or just lay it there, compacted, seed it, stabilize it. And I said, probably, but I need to get a detailed engineering plan on that, which I'm waiting for.
Are they still planning to pour foundations this year or next spring or?
It's next spring, I would say, yes. But they'll do the underground infrastructure during the winter time.
Okay. Very good. Thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Whited? All right, thank you very much. We're under resolutions. There are no third readings. We do have a second reading. Resolution number 2023.26, a resolution awarding the contract for Sedgwick Avenue Park and the Reservoir Improvements Project to Ironsight Inc. And Mr. Hennessy, I believe you're ready for an approval on this.
We are, if you are.
All right. Do you need it?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
That's what I was. All right. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ghost. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right. We have first reading resolution number 2023.27.
You might want to motion to.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion on the resolution. Excuse me.
I'll second.
Hey, what's so funny? You've done it before. You got a second by Mr. Ghost, I believe, a courteous councilman. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion passes. Good deal. We are on to, excuse me, first reading. Resolution number 2023.27, a resolution as required by Ohio Revised Code 709.23023 subsection C, setting forth municipal services that will be provided to 378.595 plus or minus acres of land in Berkshire and Trenton Townships, Delaware County, Ohio, if annexed to the city of Sunbury, Ohio. This is a services resolution that has specific approval timelines behind it. Mr. Bream, anything additional to add?
This is, again, it's an annexation that's been filed. It's filed with commissioners. It's not filed with us. But we are sent it once it's filed, and we have 20 days to pass what's called a services resolution. That is what this is. Services resolution sets forth what services we can provide to the property if it's annexed. We are required to pass this tonight. And then it goes back to the commissioners. Potentially, if they approve it, then it comes back to you for further consideration and potential approval or disapproval. But these are property owners. It's a type 2 annexation. It's 100% of the property owners that have said and signed the petition saying we want to annex our ground to Sunbury. So we now have the statutory obligation to consider this tonight. It's within 20 days of when it was received, and we do need a vote on this tonight.
Any other questions? Would anybody like to make a motion? I'll make it. Suspending the rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, I'll make a motion on the resolution, and that is number 2023.27.
Second.
Second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion. Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, resolution number 2023.28, a resolution as required by Ohio Revised Code 709.023 subsection C, setting forth municipal services that will be provided to 498.167 plus or minus acres of land in Trenton Township, Delaware County, Ohio, if annexed to the city of Sunbury.
Motion to suspend the rules.
A motion to suspend the rules by
Second.
Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost, Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. 7 yeas.
Motion on resolution 2023.28.
Got a motion by Mr. Martin,
Second.
second by Mr. Capel. Discussion.
Mr. Martin, oh, sorry.
Roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. 7 yeas.
Sorry, I was just double checking, making sure we were on the right action. All right, we are on to resolution number 2023.29. A resolution authorizing execution of an agreement for compilation of basic financial statements for the city of Sunbury in compliance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States, also known as GAAP.
I was just gonna say, I think we are looking for action this evening. I do think we talked about this at the last finance committee meeting as well.
Yes.
Yeah, you may recall, okay, then, yeah. I mean, if there are questions, Dana would be better positioned to answer those.
Motion to suspend the rules.
All right, there we go. We've got a motion by Mr. Capel,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on resolution number 2023.29.
Good motion by Mr. Capel,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, we're on to resolution number 2023.30. A resolution authorizing the city administrator to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and or local transportation. Hold it down. All right. Oh. With the 2024 street project and to execute contracts as required. And if you want to speak, you're gonna have to hold down your mic.
I'll make a motion on the emergency.
We got a motion on the suspension of the rules.
Suspension of the rules.
We got a suspension of the rules, motion by Mrs. Cooper.
Second.
Only two people at a time can be on mic. Or three, I don't know. I'm gonna forget the mics for a second. Okay, we've got a motion. We've got a second on suspension of the rules. We've having any discussion? Roll call. This is distracting.
Christmas.
Well, Christmassy.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on resolution 2023.30.
Second.
Got a motion by Mrs. Cooper, second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mayor St. John.
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, we're on to resolution number 2023.31, a resolution to establish a credit card policy for the city of Sunbury. I don't know that there's a big urgency on this one. We're gonna let it ride. All right, we are on to ordinances, third readings, none. Second reading, ordinance number 2023.01.2, second amendment, and ordinance amending the 2023 annual appropriations. We okay going another reading here? Yeah, all right. We're on to first readings, ordinance number 2023.20, an ordinance approving amendments to the City of Sunbury zoning code, including creation of limited industrial district and other miscellaneous revisions and declaring an emergency. Any discussion on this? Comments?
No, sir.
All right, ordinance number 2023.21, an ordinance approving the final plat for Sunbury Rolling Hills Section 2 and declaring an emergency. I believe we're on a reading only. I'm going to keep rolling. Ordinance number 2023.22, an ordinance approving the final plat for Sunbury Rolling Hills Section 3, Phase B, and declaring an emergency. We're going to keep going. And there we are to the end of the meeting. New and unfinished business. Board and commission appointments, informational only.
All I was saying here is, we have tried to put together a directory. It does, list, appointments to boards and commissions. As we approach the end of the year, we do have some terms that are going to, expire. So at this point, unless council directs otherwise, I mean, I was going to begin to have to do some outreach in terms of, alerting the public to these upcoming vacancies and, begin to gather names, and early part of next year, we'll be able to act upon those, if not at the end of December.
Do we have a copy of that?
Do we have a copy of the directory?
Last page.
Yeah, it's in there. The one that I don't have in there is I don't have the NCA for Sunbury Meadows. So I am trying to just chase down the names and the terms on that. Yeah, I think that's the only board or commission I don't have on this list at the moment. Active board or commission. So that's it.
We have quite a few coming up. Zoning and BZA. Zoning has 3 people coming off at the same time. That's
Yeah, remember we've checked this 2 or 3 times just to make sure we've got the right dates on that. I mean, that's what they are. I mean, I don't know if we want to try to find a way to stagger them or not, but and that's what their oaths indicate.
Wouldn't be a bad idea to try to stagger it if we could. It's a lot to
definitely.
get one time.
Yeah, I would. I know this is a little bit out of turn here, but one of my recommendations for the Charter Commission review is to get these. I mean, number one, start the terms January 1st for all, and yeah, staggering 3-year terms like we've done with BZA and Personnel Board of Appeals. Yeah, is there anything we can do to talk about that as an interim solution? Like out of these 3 openings that are coming up, you know, stagger 1, 2, 3-year terms?
Yeah, let me take a look into it
Okay.
and see what the best way to accomplish it would
All
be.
right, thank you very much.
I think it's awfully tough to do 3 at one time.
That's a great. That's a lot of posting and trying to get.
Except, the volunteers, it's a high level position as
Right.
far as training and getting people up to speed. If you were to have a situation where you had 3 new zoning members, that would be tough, especially first and second quarter of the start of their term.
Agreed. We need to post those very soon, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to begin to post that we're seeking.
All right, thank you. Thanks for putting this together. Very
Well,
much.
Amber and I have been working on this for a while, so.
Great job,
She
Amber.
members help and research and.
Many talents, Amber.
Try to wear as many hats as I can.
Thank you very much. All right, we're on to new and unfinished business. We're gonna go around the horn, Mr. Gross.
Had the opportunity to meet the new rescue truck yesterday for our fire department. It's quite impressive, $800,000 worth. Just everything that the chief and the staff, AC Stanball, really wanted, they got for the most part. So they're super happy about it, and I posted some pictures so you can see what it's all about. But It's a great thing for fire safety and morale. Mhm.
Beautiful truck.
Yeah, it is.
Great. Mr. Grumney? Mr. Capel?
Nothing here.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes, I had the opportunity last week and I was invited to speak at a Girl Scout troop about council and the city of Sunbury's government. They were working on their democracy badge. And I was flattered to be invited. I got to meet Mr. Grumney's niece, Grace. She was in that. And it was very cool to talk to them about the basics of like what does city council do? What does an administrator do? What does the mayor do? And it was special because they said, you know, they could have asked any of us to come and they were happy that there was a female on council to speak to Girl Scouts. So it was a pleasure and it was an honor to do it.
Very cool.
Yep.
Mr. Martin?
Just a reminder, next Tuesday is election day.
Right.
And if in the past you have gone to vote early on Monday, early voting ends Sunday at 5 p.m. this time around. So don't try to go in an early vote on Monday. If you want an early vote, do it on Sunday or Saturday or Friday or Thursday.
Where's that located? Over at the Delaware County Board of Elections?
It's in the Delaware County Board of Elections conference room is where the early voting is set up. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nothing to report. All right, good deal. All right, I'm also meeting with the Girl Scouts tomorrow and also very honored. I'm a man, but I'm also very appreciative that I can talk to the Girl Scouts. Thank you. All right, that's we have. Let's get a motion, Mr. Martin.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We got a second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas, we are adjourned.